Her name is Ada Lynn. She's 4 months old and the only American citizen in her family. Her parents, who agreed to speak with us if we didn't show their faces, traveled from China to Los Angeles so Ada could be born in America and claim U.S. citizenship.
The Supreme Court just ruled in favor of birthright citizenship. That's right, the conservative Supreme Court. We know that's not the case because we know that Coney Barrett and now Brett Kavanaugh have voted basically to promote a tourism business to become a U.S. citizen. I'm going to walk you through all of the table stakes on what this means. I'm also going to show you the one way out of this mess. But first, let's start with a post from Donald Trump just minutes after the ruling, where he goes on to say, "I would like to congratulate President Xi and their great country of China on their massive birthright citizenship win." Folks, he's exactly right. Any country, adversary, friend, foe, you name it, can deluge any one of our airports with their own citizens that are expecting a child and pop out a baby. This is going to be abused by the Democrats and abused by our adversaries. This is a major national security threat. So Donald Trump's exactly right in saying what this means. But now let's walk through the logic that the radical Supreme Court's decision was based on. This clip is from Ketanji Brown, where she was, this was during the hearing on birthright citizenship, and this was the logic and the analogy that she thought made sense. Let's walk through it.
I was thinking, and I think there are various sources that say this, that you obviously have permanent allegiance based on being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes. But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign. And I was thinking, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan. And what it means is that, if I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they control you as a matter of law? I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen it. So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary traveler, I'm just on vacation in Japan, I'm still locally owing allegiance.
This is the most absurd, ridiculous argument, and honestly proves why Ketanji Brown Jackson should never have been or be on the Supreme Court. Let's reverse the logic here. And instead of taking an American citizen that loses their wallet in Japan, let's take every single expectant mother in Iran and have them show up at LAX and have them pop out a baby and then have them declare that their baby is now a U.S. citizen. So every single expectant mother of any country that hates America can send this expectant mother into our country now, and based on Ketanji Brown Jackson's ruling, majority ruling, she can go ahead and have a baby, and that baby is now a U.S. citizen, regardless of ever taking an allegiance pledge to this country, regardless of ever passing any filter on if this child would be an upstanding citizen or have anything, quite frankly, to contribute to America. Doesn't matter to Coney Barrett. Doesn't matter to Brett Kavanaugh. Doesn't matter to Ketanji Brown Jackson. That child now is a U.S. citizen. But fear not, because Charlie Kirk, bless his soul, and God rest his soul, he always had something smart to say, and he did in this instance. His analogy was this. Imagine if a pregnant lady broke into your house and had a baby in your living room, and then says that she now has a legal right to stay in your house forever. That's how insane it is granting birthright citizenship to illegals. He's exactly right. And in this instance, Charlie was talking about anybody, regardless of if they flew into this country or if they just crossed the border illegally. This applies here in Charlie's example, and he's exactly right. This is how absurd this is. Our country is forever changed and will be turned over. At this point, the Democrats are going to take this, George Soros is going to take this, and fund this to the billions, to the hilt, because this is how they change the electorate. And this is also how Judge Alito, who was a dissenting member on this vote, he saw this coming. Listen to his dissent. It's scathing.
During the arguments, this is his separate dissent. He said the court's interpretation also has national security implications. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to her native country. Suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country.
Exactly.
According to this court now, that person is a citizen of the United States. He can enter and leave the country as he pleases. He can travel the world on a United States passport, even if he plots to harm this country. He cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He goes on to say that this decision today also provides a powerful incentive to enter or remain in this country illegally. He goes on to say, in my judgment, the court has made a mistake that will seriously affect the country's future. So some very pointed dissents here from those who raised these very big concerns during the arguments. And they're real world scenarios, which are not a fantasy. They're not a movie. I mean, these things that can actually happen now under this ruling that you have.
They can absolutely happen. And what all of the progressive left who has any compassion for this country isn't considering is that there are countries, there are groups of people that hate us, that want nothing more than to import their ideology into America and to take over our representation in Washington at the local level and to ruin us, to take this experiment, this grand experiment called America, and take us to our knees. So Alito gets it. He's exactly right. But at this point, nothing else matters because this is now the rule of law. So Donald Trump said this in a follow-up post about the birthright citizenship ruling. He said the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship, which is too bad for our country, but we can easily make it up in Congress through legislation. With the support of the president that now has been determined during this process, no long and unwieldy congressional amendment is necessary. Congress needs to act and start working on this immediately and ending this expensive and unfair treatment to our country, otherwise called birthright citizenship. So the Republicans have the majority in Congress on both sides of the House, and obviously Donald Trump has said that he will absolutely sign any bill that is proposed to offset this ruling by the Supreme Court. And if we're unable to take advantage of our majority ruling, there's no other conclusion, folks. We are now driven and controlled by the uniparty swamp that wants to bring our country to its knees. It's just as simple as that. Any one of the countries or groupings of people from around this world, including China, and President Xi can just hit the Expedia button, buy a one-way ticket for an expectant mother, and completely change the whole voting demographic and citizenship demographic of our country forever. It's over, folks, unless we take advantage of the legislative process as Donald Trump says. And if they don't, I'm going to play you the remainder of the clip that I started this video on, because you have to see first how this has been around for decades now. This clip is from 2013, but you have to see and imagine where funding like George Soros has, billions upon billions of dollars, how that kind of funding can change us just like that. Let's get to the clip.
Her name is Ada Lin. She's 4 months old and the only American citizen in her family. Her parents, who agreed to speak with us if we didn't show their faces, traveled from China to Los Angeles so Ada could be born in America and claim U.S. citizenship. I want her to live a happy life, her father says. The family is back in China now. They're among thousands of Chinese who become so-called birth tourists, staying in maternity hotels near Los Angeles. These hotels are often single-family homes in quiet neighborhoods.
Not here, not anywhere.
At least 2 are in Chino Hills, California, where residents are annoyed at the frequent comings and goings. Chino Hills resident Rosanna Mitchell.
Why does this offend you?
When people think of the American dream, they're not thinking about birth tourism. They're thinking about people who come here, immigrate here, work hard, pay their taxes, become citizens, and become Americans.
Ada Lin's family paid $27,000 to a Chinese agency with a website that advertises the advantages of giving birth in America. The agency helps arrange U.S. tourist visas, lodging, and medical care. The practice does not violate federal immigration laws, but it gives Chinese parents the option down the road to have their American children attend U.S. universities or live here. The Lins say having Ada in the United States allowed them to get around China's one-child policy. It restricts most women from giving birth to more than one child in China. The Lins say that restriction does not apply to Chinese who give birth overseas. This hilltop home was converted into a maternity hotel that housed as many as 30 pregnant Chinese women at a time. It apparently didn't break immigration laws, but local officials managed to close it down, Scott, for violating building codes.
John, thank you very much.
Be sure to like and subscribe to The Chris Locke Show for the latest America First news, conservative commentary, and the stories that mainstream media refuses to cover. These 2 videos right up here, they're going to be next. Pick your favorite. I'll see you over there.